Hi, everybody. Thanks for coming out tonight. My name is Brendan Smith. I'm the Arts and Humanities Coordinator for the City of Takoma Park. And this is one of the events in our Takoma Park Arts series. We do art exhibitions. We've got a lot of art out here at the Takoma Park Community Center, if you want to check that out. Film screenings, lectures. If you didn't pick up a copy of our brochure on your way in, hope you get one on your way out. And we also have a sign up for our e-newsletter once a week, Tuesdays. We let you know about all our upcoming events. They're all free. And so this is another reading in our third Thursday poetry reading series. We're trying to do more sort of themed readings on topical subjects. And so this one's on immigration, which can't get much more topical. And so I want to thank you all for coming out. Now I'm going to introduce former Takoma Park Poet Laureate Meryl Leffler, who's going to be our MC tonight. Thanks.
So I want to welcome you all on behalf of the City of Takoma Park, and as Brendan pointed out, we have a whole range of different programs, so please, if you didn't get this, pick it up. Ordinarily, Kathleen O'Toole, the current Poet Laureate of Takoma Park, would be here. She couldn't be, so I have stepped in pinch hitting. I want to say something just briefly about this, this particular reading, because it'll be one of several thematic readings, and I think unique, as I wrote in an email to people today, with all the readings that are going on around the city. This, I think, really grew out of Kathleen getting together with Jeanette Noltenius this past spring, who's the director of the Casa de la Cultura El Salvador, you have to pardon my Spanish accent, who organized the poetry reading of Spanish poetry this past spring in April. And what's emerged now are these ideas, obviously this very topical theme, but also some other ideas that will bring together subject matter and themes that I think will be unusual. So also, Jeanette has a flyer here. If you haven't gotten one of these, she'll pass them around, and we'll have some that you can get after the reading. Okay, so tonight, as you have, everybody has a program, I assume. We have Indran Amirthanayagam and Zeina Azzam and Vladimir Monge. I'm not going to introduce each poet individually. They're going to, you have a little bit of a biography. You have a kind of gateway poem in your program, and we'll see how all of this goes. I'm really very excited that we have these three diverse poets here. And as always in these poetry readings, we get these different voices, and I think it's. I'm not exaggerating by saying that I think it's exciting. So there will be a reception afterwards, and we may have a question and answer. After the reading, we'll see how that. If you're interested in doing that. So first, Indran, please come up.
Thank you very much, Meryl. Thank you, Brendan. Thank you, Takoma Park Community Center, for this chance to share some poems on this theme that's very close to all of us. How we got here, where we're going, where we came from. Feel free to take photographs. If you know me, you know that I photograph myself fairly often. I can't do that tonight, so I'll have to depend on you. I thought maybe I'd lighten the theme by that off-the-cuff remark. It is a rather heavy theme, one could focus on the heaviness of it or brush it off with a joke, but you can't really joke very often when you think about what's going on here in our society on this issue of how we came and where we're going. The poem in the, I'll begin with the poem in the brochure. The migrants reply. It's going to appear in a future book next year. We have been running for so long. We are tired. We want to rest. We don't want to wake up tomorrow and pack our bags. We have gone 10,000 miles. We have boarded a rowboat, tugboat, bus, freight train. We have a cell phone and some bread. Our eyes are dry. Our breath needs washing. What next? You are putting up a wall on your southern flank. What an irony. The country that accepts refugees does not want us. We qualify. We have scars, and our host governments hunted at least some of us. The rest fled in fear. Gangs do not spare even the children. White vans took away our uncles, our cousins. Do you think they have been made into plowshares? Aye, what are you saying? Too easy to wear our hearts in these words, in slings on our faces, furrowed, perplexed. What happened to kindness to strangers? Why do we have to be herded like prisoners held in a holding camp? We are human beings, and like you, in safer countries, we have the same obligation to save ourselves and our children. Oh, the children, look at them. Give them food and school and a new set of clothes. Give them a chance. Whether you are red or blue, the eye of the hurricane does not discriminate. We are your tumbling weeds, hurling cars, flooding banks, and we are diggers of the dikes. We can teach you so many languages and visions. You would learn so much, you would never ever say, lock us up. Thank you. One of the results of immigration, at least in my story, has to do with the language and its disappearance. This poem is called You Must Love. You must love the land when you leave to build your house on the sea. Love what's lost, the mango tree burning in the garden, the curious noose of the familiar coat of arms. Love the ball turning strong, spinning in a dark, faraway land. Love the tongue you'll never again speak, that wrapped you and bled you and dried up some every day on the other side of the sea. You must love. Thank you. I wrote that poem many years ago. It appeared, it's in a book called Ceylon R.I.P. Now kiss. Kissing your lips, I try to forget roses or the fruit of palmyra trees, sweet and strong, tongue lolling upon tongue, heart beating against heart beating. These are my words signifying our human bodies, which poetry does not capture. The absolute desire I have to kiss your lips on this hot and sunny afternoon. I do not know how much longer I can walk about the garden kissing roses, or perambulate the toddy tavern of my dreams where black faces and white toddy mix in black and white memories of Jaffna, Sri Lanka, my Tamil country, far away on an island across the sea. Far away and far away, the palmyra fruit and your lips. To drink toddy now, to kiss your rosy lips now, to uproot the roses in my garden and offer them upon my tongue now, to fly to Sri Lanka and grab the last fruit on the tree before history throws the Tamils into the sea, as is said it will do, before all this and everything else, before the apocalypse. I do so sincerely wish, though my words may not fit, to rest my head in your hair and kiss your lips. Thank you. The word, I used the word apocalypse in that poem, and I was just reading today about the disappearance of birds in North America. Some almost 3 billion birds have disappeared since 1970, which is sort of an ironic year. That was the year the Clean Water Act, I think, was passed. Anyway, can you imagine almost 3 billion lives lost while the human population has grown? Why, you have to ask. And what can we do about such things? This poem is called Crossing Point. I've been writing about migration, I guess, for a long time, and this has to do with, very specifically, with various crossing points, not only the border in the south between Mexico and the United States, but also different borders in the mind. And I come from Jaffna, or my roots are in Jaffna. I was born in Colombo, in the island that no longer exists. It used to be called Ceylon, now Sri Lanka. And I came from Ceylon to England, and then from England to America. And to America for me was Hawaii, another set of islands. So I've had a very rich experience of immigration from island to island, including Manhattan, where I lived for 10 years. So I'm an islander still, and even though I'm living here, I'm I come to you with stories of islands. Crossing point. When you reach the crossing point, do not come with doubts or photographs. The red sky is 1,000 bonfires, burning locks of hair, love letters. In the fires, lean-toned fruit pickers, makeup artists, petty thieves, bastards. On the banks of the Red River, saurian swirls in cape and 10-gallon hat. Dish room of the Mex, the new man shines faces of China, brooms the rat. 10 years lost railing against human excesses in the usual haunts frequented by poets of a certain class. Not the Y or the Great Hall of Cooper Union, just some ordinary bar, and on Sundays Washington Square, and on holy days the waiting room of Grand Central Station, writing autobiography for birds, commuters, hucksters, for new arrivals sloped over the freight car's caboose, sleeping on tracks near Brownsville to avoid snakes by a train slashed, for Hindu boys necklaced with cyanide ready for paradise, for purchasers of indulgences. I'll write you a sonnet. Furnish me name of beloved, favorite color, national identity. Do not spare bits of old songs hummed in folkloric tongues, Gaelic, Provençal. Don't worry, the crossing over saloons licensed to open at all times for everybody. We serve tequila, whiskey, passion fruit, rum punch to accompany your memories. First saunters with a girl, smelly durians, mangosteens, early drafts of hymns to Hymen and the gartered cross. When you reach the crossing point, leave the 5 senses behind, stamped on sheets of new minted poems. Leave orthopedic aids, walkers, the 3,600 copies of the New York Times, the laurel wreath from Athens, Papa's hunting knife. Throw the collection into the fire. Do not come with blunt weights, shotguns to settle old quarrels. Strip shirts, unbuckled boxers. Dive into the Red River. Hold your breath under water. Remember Montgomery Clift. Remember mother, brother. Remember the taste of your wife when you said goodbye, said you would write, send money. This is the Red River. Leap blind into its blood. Patrol boats scissoring the Bay of Bengal, the Rio Grande. Scissoring night, scissoring dream hyenas, wolves, rattlers, stretched upon the rails. 6 new men, the river waded, tired-boned, afraid of vipers. Hours to rest before sunrise, the day's patrols, the night freight that will crush them. I don't know if you remember that story of those 6 men who died sleeping on the rails, run over by a freight train after they'd made it over the border. I'll take some water. As I mentioned, a lighter tone, so this is a lighter poem. It's called The Ding Dong Years, but it has a serious element to it as well. And again, on this theme that's we're consuming us tonight, or that we are consuming tonight. We drank, sang, made merry, aged 23, valiant and hairy, suffered not governments founded poetry clubs, wore shades, bandanas, had sufficient mind to withstand our 18th whiskey. We believed in whiskey. How outmoded, leafing Dylan Thomas in America, in love with tobacco and the low-cut frock, a side of beef Wellington, Jonathan Swift. We believed in ancestors. Albion read Yeats on passionate intensity, talked Larkin in bed to our girlfriends. We were British, Anglos, bother boys, stuffed books in our boots, listened to quadrophenia, but were born in Sri Lanka. Our advisors insisted we belonged to Asian America, so we deciphered Confucius, Lao Tzu, Li Po, dug eagerly for roots in the tale of Genji, visited Singapore, Hong Kong, and San Francisco, invited Tiananmen dissidents home for tea from the recital in Chinatown's public library, attached to the dragon as it wound its tail through Mott Street, Lower Broadway. We set off firecrackers, ate dim sum to welcome in the year, then sat at our desks, imagined multilingual recasting of First Steps, epic poems stuffed with shark's fin and pig's feet in Spanish, Chinese, and Yiddish on Hester Street, Amsterdam Avenue, immigrant songs, produce set up in the marketplace, divided by creed, colour, and freshness of origin. Here are Amish cheeses. Over there, green thumbs, tomatoes, and poems from Slovenia. This is the age of the personal stamp, the memoir, autobiography. Our advisors counseled us, write to your grandmother, sprinkle English sentences with native phrases, astound us with the complex, inventive run-on sentence in 33 distinct dialects and absent syntax. This is the relative age. Dare not slander my mother in her own words. Autobiography is sacred, New York untouchable. The ding-dong years are ringing my ears. In the words of the lady, let us welcome the vigorous, the fit, the well-fed, console the lame, tired and weary. Their failure to breach l'espace Schengen does not matter. In these waters off Manhattan, they'll be picked up by immigration and the NYPD's water patrol. The episode will end in 3 meals and a cell, visits from lawyers bearing gifts and stratagems. The jailbirds asked to recall when 23 at home did they sport bandanas, found poetry clubs, wear dark glasses. Some night to be verified did the bell tower crack, the village screams silent in the cacophony of the bells, to be verified in the asylum court. Did cymbals crash, cocks crow, dogs whimper beside your house on fire? The ding-dong years, the house left, New York, New York, what a wonderful place to arrive. Shed, molt, ding-dong, master memory, write autobiography. At that time, I was a New York poet, obviously, and thank you. I have to be aware of time. Let me move on with a reading from a book called Uncivil War, just 2 poems here, and then I'll finish with a poem or 2, depending on time, from Coconuts on Mars. Uncivil war, well, all wars are uncivil, I suppose. We have lived through uncivil wars in this room, different wars from different parts of the world. In my particular case, the uncivil war refers to the war in Sri Lanka, and the cold peace that now exists in the north and east of the island. Anyway, fire department. Where is your village? Burning. Where is your village? Mined fields. Where is your village? Blasted in crossfire, wounded under jungle trees. Where is your village? Running across marshes, shot in the back. Where is your village? Waving white flags, frisked, registered, supervised in a camp. Where is your village? Blowing up army friskers, other villages. Where is your village? Toronto, Berlin, Tamil Nadu. Where is your village? Madagascar as option has not been discussed. Where is your village? Hasta la vista, special envoy. Where is your village? Burning. And then, thank you, and then Ready to Move, which is a kind of anthem for all refugees, I suppose, or attempts to be. We are Mayans, we are Tamils,
We are Armenians, we are Germans who lived once in Poland. We are Burkinabes stuck in Abidjan, Somalians in Maine and Massachusetts. We are witnesses to the only truth worth repeating. Have a bag of essentials, holy book, toothbrush, a fresh set of clothes, ready to put on your back when historical conditions change suddenly. And that's it. Let's hope the historical conditions don't change. Well, let's hope they change suddenly for the better. Can I have a sense of how much time I may have? Do I have 5 minutes? Okay, 5 minutes. Okay, in that case, I'll take the 5 minutes. You know, I think of the debates, you know, some candidates don't get enough time, and poets feel the same way. We never get enough time. Even when we're given enough time, we ask for more. We are hungry for time, especially the poets. They should never be elected president, you know. They're not, because they're too needy, too emotionally involved. We need to be dispassionate if we want to succeed in politics. And all right, so two passionate poems to finish. Coconuts on Mars. I have left my other languages to sit in the troughs of their foreign pens, snorting beautiful and strange cries, to be visited some day when I've gathered the force again to leap beyond the white cliffs, to crash into the sea between island and old continent. But I forget my birth under a coconut tree. I forget, too, that I found fan-tailed palm trees when I visited Cornwall. You can imagine the perplexed grin I sported that weekend, the sun warming my skin in St. Ives as we walked among those English palms. I did not find the king coconut, agreed, but a cousin, a relation. We are all blood coursing through veins, each white and red cell identical in shape and substance, no matter the different clothes and names and histories we sport on our bodies, in our heads. I am rich in cells, and some are dividing still. Turmeric stops the decline. Persistence, repetition of sums, writing certainly, the ever-present chance of discovery, the blue canopied forest, a finch, unlike any other, you, my dear, reading these lines. I can see through every glass in my mind. In short, let us not build any frontiers, as there are no strangers. In short, I compose this meditation in English, but anticipate a translating tool will transform my words into every other language on the planet. Ah, what a silly fantasy. As I write, the last speaker of a tribe in the Amazon forest will die. As I write, the trapped finch will bleed from the wire and lie down to die. As I write, a coconut tree will grow in an open-air hothouse on the Cornish coast. As I write, 6,000 loaves will sprout and 60,000 fish fly from one loaf, one fish, in the hands of a miracle maker. As I write, my fingers will rest, no need to type. My voice will guide the keys. As I write, I imagine the young Thambili, sweet water coconut, tasty to drink, will be served outside the hot house. As I write, scowl and sadness will turn to smiles and hoorays. That was a grand thirst quencher, my dear Cornish scientist. Congratulations. To engineering survival, let us raise our glasses. And I'll finish with living will. Thank you. Living will. So it's a living will. It's not a dead will. It's a living will. So we'll continue. One day I will sit down with my soul and write that I have loved every bird that flew, every monkey on the branch, every elephant charging through the grass. I will say I love you as much as the baby gecko scampering past my foot, the snake rustling under the wood cut and stacked in my yard. I will say I have loved every creature, every song, every turn in the road, and I will be lying with my eyes open and my eyes closed. I am not God. I'm not even the dog loyal to his master who misses him blind like his daughter in Lima, which I call at night until the next time we meet in dreams via chat, cheek to cheek, remembering always that in paradise there are no trains or roads or seas or death, no going away, no arriving, doors and gardens open, souls who come and go smiling, and all the angels, all birds, all dolphins, all men and women in song, dancing, and why not, reciting the Song of Solomon, the epic poems, the love songs that consoled when we set off on the roads, hopped on trains and aeroplanes, got caught in traffic in our head, said goodbye before saying hello. Did I know you down there? You were the greengrocer I walked past going to school in London. Oh, my dear, how beautiful you are, Pauline, with ripe red hair, who shared the religion prize with me at St. Vincent's on Blandford Street. But you may be alive still, and I'm not ready to meet my maker, to be plucked from the cycle of rebirth. Not yet. I have poems to compose, children to raise, earth to cultivate. Come back later, angel. I have my will to revise. Thank you so much. Thank you. Okay. Thank you. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. I'm delighted to be here tonight, really grateful for the invitation from Takoma Park Community Center. Thank you to Brendan Smith for coordinating the program, and to Meryl Leffler for facilitating and being our host tonight, and Kathleen O'Toole, even though she's not here, I'm really grateful for her faith in inviting me. I'd like to start with a poem that's not my own. It's by Naomi Shihab Nye, and it's really appropriate for our gathering tonight. It's called Mediterranean Blue. If you are a child of a refugee, you do not sleep easily when they are crossing the sea on small rafts, and you know they can't swim. My father couldn't swim either. He swam through sorrow, though, and made it to the other side on a ship, pitching his old clothes overboard at landing, then tried to be happy, make a new life. But something inside him was always paddling home, clinging to anything that floated, a story, a food, or face. They are the bravest people on earth right now. Don't dare look down on them. Each mind a universe, swirling as many details as yours, as much love for a humble place. Now the shirt is torn, the sea too wide for comfort, and nowhere to receive a letter for a very long time. And if we can reach out a hand, we better. Thanks. Naomi Shihab Nye has been my inspiration for a very long time. So I have a poem about the Mediterranean as well. It starts with an epigraph by Jehan Busesu from her poem, No Search, No Rescue. She says, "How do we overcome war and poverty only to drown in your sea?" Crossing the Mediterranean, you step onto the brown earth where water seeped between grains of sand and disappeared as if without a country. You remember how in its infancy, hydrogen and oxygen clasped together with no argument in early love, making communities in the faraway blue. Maybe it was a fiery birth, thunder and sparks, like your journey's start. Now, under your feet, the ground goes from soft to hard, now welcoming, now not. You look for signs. Hold your children. Wait for rain. Even a dim drizzle will see you collecting drops in your mind's cistern to be sure they last. You must wash your feet, make weak tea until you can return. Thank you. So as Meryl said, this is my gateway poem, the one in the booklet. I'd like to read it out loud for you. Leaving my childhood home. And are you able to hear me well? Okay. Leaving my childhood home. On our last day in Beirut, with my 10 years packed in a suitcase, my best friend asked for a keepsake. I found a little tin box to give her, emptied of lemon drops, that would hold memories of our childhood. Us swinging in the dusty schoolyard, rooftop hide and seek, wispy sweet jasmine, kilos of summertime figs, king of falafels, tahini-based sandwiches, our pastel autograph books. All those remembrances crammed in that box, tiny storytellers waiting to speak. Later her family would uproot too, transplant like surly Palestinian weeds pulled every few years. We all knew about this, even the kids. I never saw her again, but know that she also learned to travel lightly, hauling empty boxes, pulsing with kilos of memories. Thank you. I read this poem to a friend of mine and he said, "This is your food poem." You can tell me later if you think so. This poem is called Immigrant. I grew up eating cheese with bitter olives, sesame and thyme-infused olive oil on warm bread. Names in my family all meant something, like lifelong challenges: beautiful, splendid, victorious, forgiving. In my childhood books, words flowed from right to left. Direction didn't matter then. At 10, we traveled east to west against time. I gained 7 hours of youth, lost my compass. In New York, no sea to swallow the sun each day. Foods were sweet in America. People spoke as fast as they walked. Everything was large: washing machines, supermarkets, even bananas and red grapes. We settled in this vast, cold place with neither boots nor a sense of how to be warm. Snowfalls were beautiful and cruel. The freezing air slapped our faces each morning. Inside, there was a smell of garlic and onions on the stove, loud talking over the phone with relatives overseas. My family inhaled and exhaled politics like cigarettes all the time. We blamed the British, the Americans, Arab leaders, Zionists, communists, or a history that was simply unkind. The TV in the background reported news in a language we spoke, but did not really understand. All this over a good meal, always, as if the hunger was in our bellies and not in our hearts. Thank you. I'd like to explain a couple of things before I read this next poem. In Arabic, the word Baena means between. And when you put two Baenas together, Baena, it means betwixt and between. And this is a feeling I have often in my life, feeling between cultures and between languages and between histories. And so this poem is titled Baena Baena, In Between. And it's actually going to be the title of my chapbook, upcoming chapbook. This poem also has an epigraph, and it's from the Arab American poet, Arab American novelist, Zeina Azzam. She wrote a book many years ago called Arabian Jazz. And this quote, these sentences in this book really spoke to me. I wrote them down. I've held onto them for a long time. And they were just the right epigraph, I think, for this poem. It actually inspired the poem. This is what Zeina Azzam says. To be the first generation in this country, with another culture always looming over you, you are the ones who are born homeless, Bedouins. You're torn in two. You get two looks at the world. You may never have a perfect fit, but you see far more than most ever do. Baena Baena, in between. Through a darkened window, I look for the moon of my childhood. It was bigger then, closer, with rays spread like illumined hands against a deep blackness, between night and morning. After we crossed the sea, then the ocean, leaving home behind, I began to see everything like this moon's light, Baena Baena, in between, bookended by other elements, defined by borders not its own. I was a green shoot, sprouting from two leaves, a river meandering between banks that spell its shape, give it a name. My dreams were flower petals pressed in pages of a book about aliens and travelers. I lived in the canyon between a mother language and an adopted tongue, Baena Baena, betwixt and between. I looked for others who collect stories about childhood moons, oceans crossed with faith, that we will press against each other on the other side, making something new. Two eyes wide open, two looks at the world, lifting up our in-betweenness, not knowing if one day we would see far more than most ever do. Thank you. This is a poem called Bicultural. It's kind of a celebration of being part of two cultures. I am a tree with grafts, the hybrid with orange and red flowers and variegated leaves, fed with morning sunlight, watered by rains that speak a different language. No one knows the secrets I carry. They have hands that meld and mold all the stories told to me by storytellers from south and north. My lines are not bold or fixed anymore, though clearer, like sanded wood. My trunk, thick and textured, sways to rhythms, reaches high. Of course, language figures so prominently in our culture, and Arabic was my first language, so I write poems about Arabic, and I like to use Arabic in my poems. This poem is called, actually I'm going to have, this poem is titled Speaking Arabic and English. And it kind of, I wanted to read it after the poem about Baena Baena, in between, and sort of that duality. Speaking Arabic and English. It's like knowing the world from right and left at the same time. Eyes and fingers and mouth nimbly reorient in a flash. A guttural sound slips just as easily as a soft S, as if tongue and teeth and throat row a boat together, ready to move and turn and tip with the slightest current. I search for my voice among these moving parts. Do you think in Arabic or in English? People ask. I wonder if thoughts are born as words, ticker tape between synapses. Maybe language is a pair of tinted glasses to look through and see everything in one color. Arabic green or turquoise, English a global blue. Or maybe language is a spoon that scoops up what we want to know and divides it into portions that make sense. Alif, Ba, and ABC come out of childhood, circling like bright moons around me, the planet. A simple song with comforting rhymes would soothe my spinning head now. I'm sure that there is meaning in the lyrics before they are sung and after they color what I see. Over the years, I learned to blend the two languages, make new harmonies and dissonances. Everywhere I go, I look for others who live in the dual, know the world from right and left, nimble acrobats, unafraid of the possibilities. Thank you. I'd like to read to you a poem and then read it in Arabic. I'd like you to hear some Arabic tonight in this gathering. So I'll read it in English first so you'll know what it's about, and then when you hear the Arabic, you have some idea of what I'm reading about. It's called Colors for the Diaspora. Blue-green, watery globe, tugging to a red core. We are a distant comet, white cloud of unburnished rocks, frisking the heavens for an arc to earth, sea, home. Green-brown Palestine, cactus fruit and wild thyme, olive orchards, cypress trees. We travel on your mountaintops, tethered by voices from suitcases and the yaw of blackened keys. Blue-black night, silver stars of ancestors traveling a displaced orbit around a lost sun, repeating, when will we see the colors of our land? When will we land? So this is Colors for Diaspora in Arabic. ألوان الشتات كرة مائية زرقاء خضراء تشدنا إلى قلب أحمر إننا شهاب بعيد غيم أبيض من صخور لم تثقل تتحسس السماوات بحثا عن قوس يعود بنا إلى الأرض البحر الموطن فلسطين بنية خضراء صبار وزعتر أشجار زيتون والسرو نسافر على حبالك مقيدون بأصوات تنبع من حقائب وتشدنا المفاتيح المتصدئة السوداء ليلة كحلاء نجوم فضية من الأجداد يسافرون في مدار مهجر حول شمس مفقودة ويكررون متى سنرى ألوان بلادنا متى سنحط الرحال. Thank you. I have two more. This next one needs a little bit of an explanation. The word nafas in Arabic means breath. And there's a saying. The word is used in many different contexts, but there's a saying about if you have nafas in the kitchen, you're able to cook well, but you also are able to draw from years of ancestors cooking before you, lessons and sort of this knowledge that's handed down to you over generations. I was at a conference about food in the Middle East, and this cookbook author, a Palestinian cookbook author, was talking about nafas in the kitchen, and the concept just really grabbed me. So I asked her to elaborate on it, and she did. And so I wrote a poem about it. The other thing I need to mention is people know what za'atar is. Za'atar is a mixture of herbs. It's mostly wild thyme, and it's got sesame seeds and sumac, and Arabs, Palestinians, everybody uses it a lot. So za'atar is one of these sort of comfort foods that we have. I know my kids always love it. I always have to make something with za'atar when they come over. So that's another thing in the poem. I'm dedicating this poem to Reem Kassis, who's the Palestinian cookbook author. Nafas in the kitchen. The Palestinian chef says nafas is like a spirit, an undefined knowing that lives in the act of preparing food, as if ancestors reside in the knives that chop and slice, the parers and the juicers, the measurers and the tasters. Nafas flows from the sense of spices from childhood, the deep colors of beets and saffron, the memories of how to stuff a grape leaf just so, pick mallow leaves from their stalks, grate nutmeg resolutely with a coarse metal shield. You can't teach nafas, she says, just like you can't implant a memory, a presence. But it seeps into generations, forming something bigger than both the pinch of salt and the generous stewing pot. Nafas is the sigh that emanates from the core, the inhale and exhale into air to share. Even za'atar, she says, breathes between cultures, travels thousands of miles to bring nafas to new homes, kitchens in exile. For my last poem, I'd like to read a poem that I wrote about my mother, whom we lost recently. I wrote this poem just a few weeks ago, and I thought I would end with it. I watched her grow older, and she made me think about, well, many things, but one of them was, what happens when a refugee grows older? You know, what are the memories? What are the experiences that they take with them? And how do those memories sit in their minds and in their hearts? I saw a lot of changes in her, and a lot of manifestations of the feelings of exile, the feelings of losing home as she grew older. A refugee grows old. She is surprised by the pink cyclamen in the pot, examines the foreign petals, upswept as if reaching toward another place. Her own journey seems muted now, details as far away as her childhood in Palestine, where in one scenario she would have lived in the same place until great-grandchildren played around the lemon tree that defined her family's house and scent and space, where in the real scenario she fled for her life with a husband and baby, in her pocket a key that rusted over the years. Her memories are like henna on a hand, splendid arabesques fading each day until gone. She has covered so many miles by boat, plane, car, on foot, measured by oceans and clouds, gas fumes, tattered flags left behind, driver's licenses, rental agreements, goodbyes to friends and family, a lifetime unanchored, cleaved. She continues to worry that someone is plotting to take away her home, while slowly hunching over, a downswept, bent flower, weighed down by hallucinations. She knows that some things never leave you, so you have to leave them yourself. Take small steps away, looking for some peace. Thank you.
Be poetic. Good evening. I would like to thank Brendan and his team for having me here tonight. I know that Indran is trying to get me in trouble as well, but I really thanks the opportunity. So I'm from El Salvador. El Salvador. I think that by now many of you know where El Salvador is located, right? I just want to say that El Salvador is a European name. The actual name of our country is Cuscatlan, which in native language means land of precious things. And that name is only for a province of El Salvador these days. Our grandmothers tell us the legend that one day, like around year 1000 or 1100, a group of people left somewhere from here, from the north, and went south. So in those days, the immigration flow was going from north to the south. And they left from a place called Aztlan that anthropologists believe it's somewhere in the Arizona state. And this group wandered all the way down, and when they got to the Lake of Mexico City, they saw the sign of the god, and they saw that the sign said that was the promised land. So they established Mexico City. But my group, or our group, dissented from that interpretation. They did not believe it, and they continued going south. And so they passed all the way down until they took the land that is now El Salvador. So our ancestors also spoke Nahuatl, which is the Mexican language, with some differences, because it was so many years after, right? They adapted the language that were also encountering along the way, with the Mayan on the other side and other tribes on the other side. And so that's why they called us the children, or the grandchildren of the jaguar. That's what we Salvadorians are. Anyways, that is just to give you a context on where El Salvador is. All of us have, or all of us remember the day that we left. And that's what this poem is about. Early morning trip. Here I come now after so many years, tired of wandering, dreaming of this daylight coming back, tired of waiting. Colorful and interesting stories I bring to tell you. Tales of nocturnal tears in my open heart, now feeling defeated. No one but my father saw me when leaving. Nobody else seemed to care about it. with an early morning of insomnia. While the ominous birds slept in the dark, I crossed the risky distance to burn down my ships on the other shore of the river. Fleeing from here, rupture, fleeing from me, bleeding, fleeing from all, raising myself up, and in the crossing finding my true self. Some noisy ox carts went by my side. 3 street dogs barked as if hungry. An unknown plane took off, challenging the wind, and a young man was crying on a seat. Before reading this poem, I want to explain. It's called 5,000 square feet. And I want to explain 2 things. One is that the cleaning industry in this city, in this area, requires a person, a worker, with good denture and firm flesh to be able to clean 5,000 square feet per hour. That's what the cleaning companies require. That means that a part-time will clean 20,000 square feet, and a full-time will do 40,000 square feet on a full-time shift in 8 hours. And a lot of our people work in the cleaning industry, so this poem is about that. 5,000 square feet. 5,000 square feet. As if these hands were just metallic extensions, absurdly invulnerable to the hours. 5,000 hours of bowing down the forehead and doing the floors, dusting the dirt and cleaning shit, glancing their impeccable offices. 5,000 hours of invisible walks around downtown without knowing if you really exist or you are simply a mirage of the night dancing with a mop. 5,000 square feet of calculated moves, of program performance, worn down uniforms, and ignored sunset on the concrete in darkness. 5,000 miles of distance from the place of my hope, where the love of my family once sheltered me. 5,000 remittances amassed with the sweat of the wet back, with a life broken into pieces, dreaming of one day going back. And 5 passed by, then 10. 15 years passed by, and 20 later, and there is no end that can be foreseen, nor change, no pain that can be asked about. 5,000 remittances later. And when I talk about remittances, I'm talking about the money that immigrants send to their homes. People down there, they just want to see the money. They don't really think about what it takes here to make the money. So there's those 2 things affecting. Yesterday, there were dreams that directed our lives. They gave us the first impulse to share love. There were dreams that made us sensible and showed us ways beyond death. They gave us the anguish, the terrible surprise of realizing we were already grown-ups and time had come to do something real. To the rhythm of those dreams we loved, every new day we fought. In the sky, in the air, we searched for signs, and we found our mountains filled with voices and trails. To the rhythm of those dreams, we became men and women, and life grew out of us like wild grass. To the rhythm of those dreams, we left our homeland and discovered roads that went north and south. I have another version of the same poem that's in the booklet, the last 2 verses. All right, before reading the next part, I wanna quote this Lebanese poet, Khalil Gibran, Lebanese American, talks about the river and the sea. And I'm gonna read that part of his poem. They say that before entering the sea, the river trembles in fear. He looks the distance left behind, the cliff, the mountains, the long and curvy open road through jungles and villages, and observes in front of him an ocean so big that entering in it can only mean to disappear forever. But there is no other way. The river cannot turn back. Nobody can. Turning back is impossible in our existence. The river needs to accept its nature and enter the ocean. Only entering the ocean, his fear will dissipate. Because only then the river will know that it is not about disappearing in the ocean, but becoming an ocean. And this is mine. The wind did not learn how to sing, and it sings. The birds, rather than singing, they complain. But because we do not understand them, we believe that they sing. The ocean sings day and night endlessly, and it is not always the same song. Sometimes it sings more in love. Death also sings its quiet song, and even though we do not want to hear it, someday we will have to do it. Sing, poet, sing. You have as much right as the wind, and like the sea, you are the same as great. Sing, poet, sing, so that we humans can dream. That's for my fellow poets. I understand. You may not want to see me hanging around the beautiful halls of the Kennedy Center. I understand. Perhaps my skin or my origin doesn't go well with the white marble of its tall columns. I understand. You cannot imagine me playing tennis while the sad leaves of autumn fall. You think that I am here to do the things that you do not want to do in the winter. I understand. You think that I am happy cleaning the tables, that I should be thankful to be the waiter and spend my days cleaning the dishes from January to December. I understand. You may not like seeing me on the Potomac River driving a boat or sitting by the water, refreshing my feet, reading poems. You get scared. You think my role is to be the great gardener, and at midnight I should be cleaning the windows and the winter snow. I am sorry. So many Latinos around building the roads, running the kitchens, cleaning the floors. Horrible. I understand. They told you Latinos are criminals and rapists. Horrible. You think that soon the George Washington Monument may feature a mariachi hat on the top and the White House will be painted in pink, blue, yellow, green, and purple? That's what they told you. That's what you think. I understand. It must be sad to be monolingual, not knowing what brown people are talking about down the street. I understand. You do not want to listen to my story and my truth, and you think that it is urgent that they block my access to higher schools. I'm sorry. It's too late. Granted, we're loaded with work, but remain optimistic. And we have decided that we're going to stay. I hope you understand, because I understand. Anywhere I am. My homeland searched for me in every corner that I tried to hide. The dark land of my ancestors would tremble, and in its agony would send me emotional twisters that would shake up my soul. And it did not matter that it was San Jose, Toronto, Ottawa, Boston, or Washington, D.C. All the way up there, she would follow me with her anguish and millenarian pain. She always found me, especially when I was down. She would drag me and lift me up and make me take her by the hand because she was afraid that both of us, wandering alone in the world, in the end, could get lost. And then I'm going to touch the topic of the Salvadorian War. Miguel Hernández escribió. Miguel Hernández was the Spanish poet that was assassinated by the dictatorship of Franco in Spain during the Civil War. He wrote, lo voy a decir, I'm going to say it first in Spanish and then in English. Tristes guerras, si no es amor la empresa. Tristes, tristes. Tristes armas, si no son las palabras. Tristes, tristes. Tristes hombres, si no mueren de amor. Tristes, tristes. Translated as to, like this. Words are so sad if they are not fought for love. So sad, so sad. Weapons are sad when words are not the weapons. So sad, so sad. Men are sad if they do not die because of love. So sad, so sad. My poem is titled, It Was the War. Before I read it, I'm going to say this. They used to ask me why we were here. And I used to respond, we are here because you were there. This poem is about the Salvadorian War that was extended for 12 years because of the money that the U.S. poured into the wrong side. That was the original cause of migration from El Salvador. When peace finally came, the flow of money stopped, and everyone was on his own. We were left no choice but to leave the country. It was the war. When the night felt it was like an enormous abyss suddenly appeared before us. On the bottom, we could hear the laughter of death that, dodging in the dark, was waiting for us. There was those cloudy days, the almost eternal dark night, longer than time, where terror and courage would occupy up to the last cell of our nerves. It was the sneaky steps of death, sounding the bells of military boots, the ammoniac breath of the murderers, the silent steps of the persecuted, the anguish of the believers, the agony of the mothers, poor women of my homeland, disrupted human beings being pulled apart by the cruelty of an unfair country, grown up by the force of blows from the entrails of pain. It was the injustice galloping on a steel horse. We had to hide what was good, the good intentions of the fair ones, the dreams of the poets, the tender patriotism of the students, the immense paternal love of the great Archbishop Romero, the vision and projects of the honest intellectuals, the holy traditions of our grandparents. We had to make them underground, treasure them as emeralds, confident that despite of the evil, we were good people, and that we never imagined that so much scorn existed against human beings in such magnitude. It was the painful scream rupturing the soul of the poor. It was the longest night and the craziness of a century. It was the Salvadorian War. And my generation lived through that. A lot of us survived. and the country is finally at peace and coming together. So let's hope that things are going to be better for the future. And I'm going to close my participation tonight with this poem, Being a Thing, ser una cosa, siendo cosa, in Spanish. And by the way, I write in Spanish, and so the translation sometimes loses some of the rhythm that we would like to do in the poems. But I hope that the message gets across. Being a thing. Little by little, the whole, the universe is being measured, quantified. Everyone becoming a thing, uniform and insensible to the weeping and misery that is devastating the earth. Market with smiles and wheels, a stock exchange of feelings tied to transactions subject to buy and sell. The big banks and corporations always wanting more. Your value is not you, it's your credit score. Everything in this world and all of us in the earth are for sale. I heard a businessman to say, and I felt butterflies nesting on my flag. My mother will remain in that corner of the world safely forgotten, between rumors of rivers and tropical storm, between narcissus flowers and the singing of the birds, hoping for the promise of the gods. And I will be here, being a thing, a massified consumer subject, movable, temporary, disposable, deportable. Thank you very much.
You know, this has been the most singular evening, I have to say. This has just been terrific. We've had great poetry readings here, but this has really been singular. I said I'm repeating myself. We have some time. If the poets are willing to answer some questions, how many of you would like to ask some questions or of the poets here? Or are you
I would.
silent? Okay, well, we were prepared, but what we can do is adjourn into the, outside where we have a small reception, and you can speak with the poets there. And there are books for sale, and I hope you will consider bringing home with you some of what you heard this evening. Thank you for coming, and we'll see you again.